Most people picture Las Vegas and they think of bright lights, massive casinos, and wild weekends. But what if I told you the entire city was actually the prize in the single biggest, most successful heist in American history?
Yeah, you heard me right. Forget about armored cars and bank vaults. We're talking about the complete and total takeover of a city. In this explainer, we are going to pull back the curtain on the mob's greatest score ever, from their brilliant blueprint to the violent takeover and the wild aftermath. Okay, let's get into it.
All right, first up, the blueprint. You see, every legendary heist starts with a killer plan. And the plan to steal Las Vegas, it was dreamed up by a guy you've probably never even heard of.
So the target wasn't just some random patch of desert. No, it was the absolute perfect storm of opportunity. I mean, just think about it. You've got this quiet, isolated railroad town. Then, boom, Nevada makes gambling legal because they're desperate for cash during the Great Depression. Then, here comes the Hoover Dam project, flooding the area with thousands of construction workers, all of them with pockets stuffed with federal money. The mark was primed and ready.
So the guy with the original vision, the architect, he wasn't some shadowy crime boss. His name was Billy Wilkerson, a Hollywood insider who owned all the hottest nightclubs in LA. He had this grand vision for a European-style oasis for his rich and famous friends. But there was one little problem. He ran out of money. So he turned to the only people who had that kind of cash, the mob. And that's when everything changed. Wilkerson's dream very quickly became the syndicate's new pet project. And it was now being led by one of the most violent and unpredictable gangsters in America. The muscle was moving in. It really came down to these two guys. On one side, you've got Wilkerson, the visionary. On the other, the muscle, Benjamin Bugsy Siegel, a founder of Murder Incorporated. Siegel and his partners invested in the project, which is really just a nice way of saying they slowly and methodically squeezed Wilkerson out with threats and intimidation until the guy literally fled for his life. Now, with Siegel in charge, things went completely off the rails. The Flamingo's budget didn't just grow, it hemorrhaged cash. It went from a pretty ambitious $1.2 million all the way up to a staggering $6 million. His bosses back east were getting nervous. They suspected he was stealing from them, and, well, their patience was wearing razor thin.
And this was the final brutal move. On June 20th, 1947, Bugsy Siegel was shot and killed in Beverly Hills. Get this, just minutes later, his associates calmly walked into the Flamingo back in Vegas and just announced they were the new owners. The message could not have been clearer. No one was bigger than the operation.
So, with total and absolute control, the mob turned Las Vegas into their own personal, untaxed ATM. And the secret to their success was a system that was as brilliant as it was illegal.
The entire point of this whole heist came down to a single, audacious idea: the skim. This wasn't just pocket money. This was a river of untaxed cash flowing right out of the desert and funding the entire national crime syndicate, with money that, on paper, never even existed. And the way they did it was a masterpiece of clandestine logistics. Cash was literally taken by hand from the counting rooms, packed into totally ordinary suitcases, and then flown by couriers, or mules, on regular commercial flights to the bosses back east. This whole thing worked only because of total, unquestioning obedience, from the pit bosses all the way to the top. But the real genius here was psychological. The casinos themselves were weapons, designed to be these sensory vacuums that just keep you playing. I mean, have you ever noticed there are no clocks or windows in a casino? The maze-like layouts? That is all by design. The outside world just melts away, leaving only you and the game. They even weaponized something as simple as food. That famous $1 Vegas buffet, it was never about making a profit on prime rib. It was bait. They gave you mountains of food for practically nothing to keep you inside and make you feel like you had extra money to go lose at the tables. It's kind of genius. And what about Frank Sinatra and his crew? They were the perfect distraction. The Rat Pack was the ultimate loss leader, luring in all the high rollers and making this massive criminal enterprise look like the coolest party on earth.
But of course, no perfect crime lasts forever, and the mob's glittering empire was about to begin crumbling, both from the outside in and from the inside out.
So how does a perfect crime finally fall apart? Well, the answer came from three completely different directions: an eccentric rival, the federal government, and the mob's own suffocating paranoia.
All of a sudden, the mob was fighting a war on three fronts. You had the eccentric billionaire Howard Hughes showing up and just buying their casinos, which brought tons of unwanted corporate scrutiny.
Then, the feds finally got serious with Operation Casino, using wiretaps to dismantle the scam. And maybe worst of all, their own employees started running their own mini-skims, stealing from the stealers, which created just unbearable internal paranoia.
For the first time, the state of Nevada itself had a powerful legal weapon to fight back. It was called the Black Book, and it was an official list of known mobsters. If your name was in it, it was now a crime for any casino to even let you on the property. They were being legally exiled from their own kingdom.
The walls were closing in. The mob was being forced out. The heist was over. It was time for the new bosses to take over.
And to erase the city's criminal past, the new corporate owners started literally destroying the old mob-built landmarks. The sands, the stardust, they blew them up in these huge televised implosions. This wasn't just demolition. This was a massive PR move to signal a new, family-friendly era for Las Vegas.
And just like that, the guard had changed. The city went from being ruled by handshakes and hits to being ruled by marketing analytics. The skim was replaced by Wall Street investments, and the city's vice was transformed into this carefully managed, sanitized commodity. Which brings us to a lingering question about the city today.
The mob is gone, for sure. But did their hustle ever really leave? The psychology of the house edge, the casino design that keeps you inside, that constant allure of the big score? The new Vegas may be bigger and brighter, but it absolutely still flickers with the DNA of the greatest heist you've never even heard of.